first speaker is going to be talking on election monitoring in the 2011 Nigerian elections, a diasporan perspective. And to give this very crucial talk is going to be Alhaji Abdulahi Dauda. Alhaji Dauda is a board member of NIDO, representing Region 1, NIDO America, that is, representing Region 1. And he is also president, Zumunta Tri-State Chapter in New Jersey. And he has been working with the United Parcel Services for the past 28 years. He currently is a project manager with UPS. Alhaji Dauda has a master's degree in criminal justice management. So I think that actually more than qualifies him to give this talk. So Alhaji Dauda, you have the mic. Please help me welcome him to this.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And as the Master of Ceremony have said, the earlier speakers in the morning really set the stage for the afternoon session. And various of them have talked about free, credible election. And so going further with that, when we say free and credible election, you know, what is it? And also to have transparency. And I thought there was a joke earlier in the morning about transparency. So without further delay, I'm going to talk about from a diaspora perspective in terms of what can we do to help with the 2011 election in Nigeria. How can we contribute? What can we do? So one of the things that jump up is electoral monitoring. Now, electoral monitoring, there are certain criteria in terms of what it is. Before going into that, as you know, just a statement that we're aware of how sensitive the image to Nigeria is in the international world. I think other speakers have stated this in the earlier session. You know how important it is that we both drive and determined to play a positive role in the upcoming election in Nigeria. And one of the avenue we can do that is by putting together some team here in terms of getting some volunteers and working, of course, with the INEC. So that will involve the INEC. And in terms of engaging the diaspora, because the diaspora can't just show up in Nigeria and say, hey, we're here, we're going to monitor and the rest. So there has to be some type of liaison and communication with the INEC group. And talking about the INEC, there is a press conference on Monday in Washington, D.C. by JEGA of some people have been invited in terms of doing a dialogue. I would have wished that I went to that press conference first before giving the speech, so we can talk. But all the same, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of questions. I will be present at that press conference, and I will take some of the questions and somehow get the communication back through Dr. Ogoji and the rest to give. So to continue in the topic, as a Nigerian, we need to promote the spirit of patriotism and cooperation amongst Nigeria in diaspora. And based on the present fact that we have in front of us of conducting an election. So what does monitoring election in Nigeria, how do we go about it? And what do we need to do here in terms of getting those done? So they have to, first of all, the system have to be in place in terms of getting the team to Nigeria. Once INEC does the invitation, we get the professional people or get the people here. There are trainings that are available for people who are doing monitoring, because you can't just show up and do monitoring. You have to go through certain conduct of training. And so once we arrive at Nigeria in terms of doing the monitoring, we the people that are going, as we said, has to be very transparent. You can't be supporting of one side. You have to be neutral when you're doing monitoring. So at the So once you are there at the monitoring on the ground, you avoid the first of all, importance you provide providing the setup, the observation, security. During the election, you do the observation, and someone was asking me earlier that with all the technology that we have today, can we employ it in terms for the monitoring? Absolutely. It requires there could be cameras in there, because the whole purpose of monitoring is you're looking for irregularity. You want to make sure that the process that the voters come to the polling pool is being followed and they're doing what they need to do. So you do your observation, take your note. The camera, most of the phones today have camera. You can take pictures and record every activity that is going on, and to make sure that you be able to use it. Because at the end of the monitoring, you have to provide also a report. So so after the monitoring, people come and do their election, and they do their voting, and you observe. You make sure that they go through the process. The poll workers are there to cooperate to make sure that everything moves smoothly. Once election is done, and the intention is with the polling people, you try and go to as many poll wards as possible, depending also how many will go from here in terms of being able to cover, because to cover the whole Nigerian election, you're going to need a lot of people. So possible things that could happen could be you target working with INEC, okay, which state, which ward, where do we need the monitoring people to go and be the observant or be the eyes to make sure that things progress in orderly manners and the way elections should be held. Again, back to the monitor or watching the election goes on. Once the election is done, the process that need to do is the security, securing the ballot boxes to make sure that they're counted. And the result also is announced immediately. Because one of the issues, I guess, with the elections, that the elections is completed, counting is done, and no result is announced. Everyone is holding. So you're introducing the potential of tampering or rigging with the ballots. So once it's finished, secured, and the way INEC has it set up with the process that they have, work with INEC. Again, INEC has to be a partner in this to make sure that the ballot are counted and the result are announced immediately. There shouldn't be any reason to withhold the result once counting is completed of the ballot, to announce who the winner is or who the loser. And also from here, depending on the diaspora or the people that will go for the monitoring, as I stated earlier, there are a lot of states in Nigeria, and we can't cover all. There is also the availability or the possibility of going in there to train or recruit from Nigeria itself or from the area and train, because we talked about education earlier, to train the voters, to make sure that train the poll workers actually to do some of the monitoring people that will be needed. So once you train them, they know what they need to do, and then you have more people. This way you'll be able to roam from one polling area to another to make sure that they're covered. The other thing also we talked about is the education. I know earlier speakers did touch on that in terms of educating to make sure that the voters in Nigeria know their rights, because I know most of the politicians, when they get into office, as was stated by earlier speakers, they go there for one purpose. They're elected by the people. They're supposed to serve the people, but it always turns out that they serve themselves when they get into office. So the voters have the right to hold them accountable. And I know it's a long, tall order for voters in Nigeria. It will take a lot of enlightenment and education, but it's possible, it's doable. You know, you don't have to do all. You can start bit by bit to educate the voters. Empowering the citizen. Someone made a statement earlier, because I've seen in some, I think Kano State, Lagos, and a few other states where in the last election, the voters actually at the voting poll stood their ground, so that there is no rigging, there is no ballot stuffing, there is no switching of boxes, whereby they had the legitimate elections and the rest. And it just started with 3 states. There's no reason why that can manifest itself to go to other states. You encourage them to open the ballot right there, help the voters understand that this is their election, and this is something that they want to do. Okay, just some information in terms of election monitoring. We have some professional election monitoring, like the Carter Foundation or Carter Center in Washington, D.C., in Atlanta. And there are also other non-profit organizations that have monitoring training that can liaison and work in terms of training to provide credibility, just so that make sure that when that does happen, you know, we'll be able to do that. Now, I know there are some questions being asked earlier in the earlier speeches in terms of what is the diaspora doing in terms of the 2000 election with terms of the monitoring. On the board, we have discussed about the monitoring of this coming election, the 2011, and we're in the process of evaluating and discussing, and I think with the coming of the Professor Jega with INEC, be able to at least talk and discuss and see if that is possible. And when that is concluded, we'll send a press conference and let the general public know what the plans is and what we'll be doing. Okay, thank you. All right. Also, I know that there was a question earlier which was answered also in terms of the voting right. You know, why are we not able to vote in diaspora? I was in Mina this year for the Diaspora Day, and we had an audience with the Speaker of the House, Bankole, and Abigail Tiberi, and that topic did come up. And the excuse that were given, the earlier speaker made mention of it, is that for this election, time has run out, but this was not something that started just in July. This has started like years ago. So the excuse is that the legislation at this point, they cannot push it through. There are too many things that need to happen. And there is a diaspora commission that is supposed to be set up. And we know that with the current legislative, that since their time is run out, that will not be concluded until the next election. So the hope and the goal is that once the new Congress come into place, the Diaspora Commission will be appointed, and the Diaspora Bill, that goes along with the Diaspora Bill, which will give you and I the right to vote outside of Nigeria. So those are coming. I will yield my time at this point.
Thank you.
Well, I really want to thank